Jumping to the 13, it's the second year of the drought. So I'll make it somewhat anticlimactic and say that we're going to go 12, 13, 14. When we get to the next set of 3, starting with 15, 15 is the crescendo of the drought. Painful. Still being in the cattle business on one side of our lives and being farmers on the other. 15 is the year where you start thinking, not sure how much longer we're going to be able to do this. And for people who do what we do, that's not a lightweight conversation now. And so that's the other lens that I'm always looking through is this isn't meant to be a winemaker's wine. This is meant to be a reflection of this vineyard in a way that really, I have hundreds of friends who are terrific winemakers, but until a winemaker owns their own vineyard and plays both sides of the ball, you're only seeing through one of those windows. And it's a very different world when you're responsible for both ends. And so 13 and 14, I think we started to learn, and I should say, winemaker for 12 and 13 and 14 was my longtime partner, Paul Wilkins, as well as 15. And then when we get to 16, we'll switch to when I started working with Justin Willett of Tyler Winery and Lou D, for those who know those wines. Paul and I went to college together at Cal Poly, and he was the assistant winemaker for John Alban, very well-known producer of Rhone wines in the Arroyo Grande Valley. I guess right where Arroyo Grande and Edna Valley, I'm not actually sure which. He may have a position in both, but right on the line. And so what was super fun for me working with Paul is that he wasn't a Pinot guy. He had been focused on Rhones, and yet because of how John ran his business and what Paul had been doing, and they were extremely successful, I didn't care about the fact that Paul didn't know how to make Pinot Noir. What I cared about is that we understood fine wines and creating a singular experience. Because at the point that your wine tastes like anybody else's, for me, there's no point in doing it. That would be entirely defeative of why we would have a label with our own wine. And Paul quickly figured out Pinot Noir, and I think did really a remarkable job. 13, again, second year of the drought, and had a lot of the same characteristics that you'll see in the 2012, but I would say it's just a little bit more. And you know, I was also very fortunate when I started, the master sommelier world was very inviting of young winemakers, which there weren't very many of at that point in time, like there are now. And especially people who were trying to make something of a style like this. And we got kind of to capture the attention of some great restaurateurs. It usually takes a great restaurant to afford a master sommelier. And so we were getting these terrific placements all over the country, but specifically with such a small volume, I'd go, I like these guys. I want to go hang out there when I go to Hawaii. And so, you know, it was the Chuck Ferruyas and the Alan Wongs and the folks in Hawaii who probably really gave me the greatest amount of feedback, and really, because they're not a wine producing area, when we would go to sell wine there, really would take the time and engage with us and pull stuff out of their cellar and help sharpen our knowledge. And 13 was a wine where Chuck Ferruya, who's one of the master sommeliers, who I really probably came to appreciate as much as any of them, said, your 2012 spoke to Premier Cru. Your 2013 is the first wine I can say speaks to Grand Cru. And it's the nature of the weight of the wine. There's more layers, there's more complexity, and at the end of the day, there is a richness, even at a relatively lower alcohol, that makes this wine even still a pretty terrific standout. More of a crowd pleaser than my palate often is looking for, but clearly, you know, we're looking at a set of great wines, and another Wesism from Jaillet was that, you know, to put one wine in front of someone, you have the ability to appreciate it. Once you put 2 or 3, now you start wanting to pick your winner, and that's great, but that's not really the point of what we were trying to create, which was an arc of reference about what happened on that site